Hi, everybody. Welcome to ParentDashboard Presents. So we are honored today to be joined by Veenu, who's with Veenu Inspires and is a parent coach to help us learn how to be curious during crisis. So calm and curious, not critical. So we're just gonna take a few minutes here and welcome Shannon and her husband Roy, and see if other folks join in. I'm just going to give you a little background while we're waiting on ParentDashboard. We're a small social purpose enterprise in British Columbia on Vancouver Island. And I'm gonna just show you our website. So if you're watching on replay, you'll know where to find things. This is our ParentDashboard website. Yeah, we started off as a small specialized care company, and then COVID hit, and we expanded to be helping every family member sort of work with all of the areas of life and really support special needs families and all families really in reaching their goals and dreams. And just so you can see here, our upcoming events is the place that you'll click to get your copy of this event. And here is our new upcoming event in September, where we're doing a family fitness challenge. It's a 5-day, 2-hour-a-day online, totally free. We've got all sorts of experts in all sorts of realms, financial realms, coming to help us out. So just stay tuned for that on our Facebook group. And then today you'll see here right underneath, when we're done this in our section here, you see where we've got Veenu. We're going to be posting a link for the recording. So that should be that. So again, welcome. I'm going to let Veenu introduce herself, but we're hoping to be able to work today on mindset and a couple of other key areas to be able to help you. Veenu, we've all been special needs parents in COVID and lockdown, and there's probably been a fair bit of crisis out there.
Yes.
So before we dive into things, though, I'll let you introduce yourself, and then we've got a couple of questions that we'd like to work through with you. So thank you so much for spending your valuable time with us today, even if it's just an hour.
You're so welcome. I'm so glad to be here with everybody. And for the couple that's here, congratulations, you get the one-on-one tonight. And for those that get the recording, we missed you. So I'm Veenu Keller. I have been, I say that I'm like a parent of every title. I've been a single mom, a married mom, a mom of boys, a mom of adults, a mom of twins, a special needs mom, a stay-home mom, an at-work mom, like you name it, I've been it. And I did not know that this was going to be my calling into coaching parents, into coaching kids. And, now as I get older and my purpose gets more clear to me, my vision gets more clear to me, and people's like, well, what do you really do? And I said, you know what I do? I help parents give their kids a childhood they don't have to heal from. Because I feel like in the realm that I have lived in, I was born in the 70s, and, going through what I've gone through without social media, to social media, looking at all the crisis, like COVID, yes, has brought crisis. But if I look at my life, there's always been little crises that happened along the line. And how did we prepare? How did I prepare as a parent? Did I do the best that I can do? And if I didn't, where could I be even better? And so when I look through all the pain that I've been through my own self journey of suicide, self-harming, being depressed, on anxiety medicine, to where I'm at today. I'm a trainer for several, like for Tony Robbins, for Joseph McClendon, like all these top people, because I've done the work. I'm not somebody that's like, oh, I've gone to school, I'm a doctor now, let me tell you what best practices. I'm saying I am a parent. I've been a parent first and then a professional. And, I always say in my past life, because it seems that way, but 14 years ago, I was a qualified mental health professional. And all I did is work with kids birth to 3 that had special needs, developmental disabilities. I was certified for 17 years. as an infant and toddler family specialist here in North Carolina. I wrote plans, IFSPs. I don't know what they're called in Canada or anywhere else in the world, but they're individual family service plans. And I personally, not only as a case manager, I was also the provider. So I would go and I would create these goals for families that were tangible goals, that not just what I felt like the milestones was, but where are they at as parents, and where are they at with their children, and what do that children need to be successful? Not because the standard says at 2 years old they need 250 words of speech, but what do they need right now? Right now they need their child to communicate. So let's give them some type of way of expressing their communication instead of temper tantruming. Like, that's what I was more focused on. And what I realized and what pulled me out of that was that the state, the government, the federal government here in the United States was more about, are they meeting these needs at this level versus, and like trying to throw out diagnoses everywhere. And I'm like, you know what if we're just here to rip off those labels? Let's just rip off the labels. Let's stop talking about all the symptoms and let's get to the cause. Let's get to the cause of what's really going on. Is it a neurological thing? Is it a physical muscle thing? Is it cognitive? Is it coordination? Is it hand-eye coordination? Is it fine motor skills? Let's focus on what's really is at the cause. And it's interesting because I just had a client come back to me. I worked with her son. He was on the spectrum that they thought. And I said, you know what, let's not give him the label. Let's just work out what does he need right now. And let's go in there. I personally taught him how to talk. I personally helped them learn how to get him to walk. And we found out that it wasn't autism at all, like they wanted to label him. It was actually apraxia and dyspraxia. And so, you know what, with all that, you do get the low muscle tones. You do get the speech impediments. You know, their receptive language is great, but their expressive language is not great because it's oral motor skills. So there was a lot going on. And that's when I realized, I'm like, you know what, like, this is ridiculous how many labels we want to put on these kids, and where us parents are so stressed out because we're like, oh my gosh, they don't have 250 words. My kid's so delayed. And that means I'm failing as a parent. And I'm just here to tell you, you're not failing as a parent. You are doing the best that you can with what you know. And the more you come into these classes, the more you reach out and you get into these groups, which are so great because we have the internet now. When I was doing this before, we didn't. But now that you do, understand that, you know, you're seen for what you're doing. And if you don't know, come and learn, you know, because you don't know what you don't know.
Well, that's sort of, we're so excited you're here today to help us learn. So thank you so much, because, we really want to bring resources to parents to help them get together and connect them with experts like you, and really provide them some concrete things that they can take away. And then if they need to connect with you, they definitely can. And we'll have a way to connect with Veenu on our website underneath where you can get the recording as well. So Veenu, there's so many aspects to the lived experience that you've had. And I'm sure you've personally experienced a lot of lows that the parents who are in our community are going through right now. And particularly with the extra pressures of COVID, and not having those support workers come into the home as much, or not being able to access things in person. Sometimes things are deteriorating and the pressure's on, and more behaviors or more and more isolation. So how can it just, before we kind of get into the concrete tools of how they can get things, how did you, what did you do for your mindset? How did you get yourself from a place of, oh my God, why is this happening to me? I'm about to pull my hair out. This is, I keep banging my head against the wall trying to get this kid to, do things. And, I can't figure it out. I'm a bad parent. I don't know what I'm doing. And I'm in a place of they'd be better off without me. Right.
Right.
How did you get from there? How did you change your mindset? What are the core things that someone can remember, or the steps they can take? What are the top things you'd recommend?
The first thing I had to do is change my beliefs. I had to get out of the beliefs of that being what my kids do is my measurement tool if I was a good parent, right? Because I have older kids. My oldest kids are 27, 23, and my youngest are 9-year-old twins. So, I had that whole gamut to see. And what I realized is what changed me as a parent. My biggest compliment I get now is when my older kids are here and they're like, you raised the twins so differently. And I'm like, thank God I do.
You can see the change that you brought in your life.
Right, because everything is, so the first thing is to let go of my baggage. So I told you, I grew up, I was bullied, I was the first in my culture, my family to be born in America. So my family came from India, and they're the first divorce. So like there was a lot of beliefs there, like we were bad, we're the black sheep of the family because nobody gets divorced in our family, you know, we're Indian, and here I'm being raised in an Indian cultured home in America. And America's such a different culture than we are used to in India. You know, the way that girls are raised versus the way that boys are raised, the way we talk, you know, the way that we're supposed to be prim and proper, we're supposed to be quiet, we're supposed to be ladylike. I heard that my whole life. You're not being ladylike. And so here I'm growing up trying to be ladylike, and I don't even know what ladylike is. And now I'm in this world that's about to eat me up because I'm so busy being ladylike. I'm not learning how to survive or even thrive at that. And then I was being bullied for my skin color, for my culture, for whatever it was, because kids are cruel, you know. And you know what's sad is they're not trying to be, they're also trying to survive. They're also trying to find their control and their leadership. And to be honest, as a victim, I kind of let them just take it from me because I didn't know better, you know. And you come home and, you know, your mom's like, my mom is so busy, is a single mom, just like, okay, being your kids are going to be kids. And so that was my mentality. That what I heard became my inner language. Right. It became, you know, what I focused on. I focused on being ugly, being brown, being this, being that. And that was my language. And so the first thing with my mindset was I had to change my beliefs. And when I did that, it changed my thought, which is my focus, but then changed my language.
Okay. And then I understand how that would work then, because then as an adult, when you're under pressure, then your kids hurting themselves or drawing attention themselves in the store, or, you know, and you're feeling that social pressure, that you're going to automatically revert to your younger, you know, learning stories and beliefs about how you parent. And so you're, and who you model on kind of comes out, you know. They all say, oh my gosh, I just sounded like my mother, right? So changing, especially when you have a special needs child, when there hadn't been previously in the family, and there may be some lack of understanding between the generations about what these particular children need. So you know, all of those pieces coming together, for special needs parents in particular, what would you tell them that you think now? How should they think now about their situation, and what would be the best mindset if they're realizing maybe they're not exactly the same as you, maybe they're fortunate enough not to have experienced racism, you know, but what are the pieces that they need to erase, like install in place?
Like regardless, no matter if they have an old story that they have to live through, right? Because like you said, like it would trigger me, like, what are people going to say if my kids are acting like this? You know, and that's why kids are like crying in the store, like, okay, just give them what they want so they stop crying. Why are we doing that? Why are we enabling that behavior? We're rewarding the kids' behavior by giving them the ice cream, the candy, the stuffed animal, the box of crackers while we grocery shop, because it's just easier to do that.
It makes it more convenient for us.
Right. And so then we're rewarding them. So the first time you don't give them that, they have a big temper tantrum. Like, oh God, now I'm a bad parent because I didn't do it. Well, first of all, let's take off the labels of bad parenting. Let's take off the labels of helicopter parenting, conscious parenting. Like, just take off all the labels. That's the first thing we need to do. The second thing is, you know, I worked with many parents that had special need kids, and I can't tell you the stories that just crushed my soul. I will tell you, like 2 days before Christmas, I'm walking into this home. Their daughter just got diagnosed with 22q. And that's like the 22 chromosome was depleted. And I forget the other name for it, but they're sitting here. I'm walking to this home and they're all sitting there very somber. And I'm like, hi. And they're like, hi. And I'm like, everything okay? They're like, well, can we sit down at the table first? And I'm like, sure. And I'm like, are they firing me? Like, what's going on here? Like, I don't know what happened. Because normally it's like, hey, and we go in, I go on the floor, I bring my bag of toys and I start working with their daughter. And they're like, we just got back from Chapel Hill. And they pushed a pamphlet to me and they said, this is what she was diagnosed with. And I look at it and I'm like, looking at the pamphlet, I'm like, okay. And I said, so should we start working? They're like, what? And I'm like, this is someone else's story. This is someone else that wrote a story about their children or what they've seen, doctors seen. This doesn't have to be your daughter's story. So I got up, I went to a drawer in their kitchen. I said, so we're going to put their story away. And I grabbed my notebook and I said, now let's write her story. I get chills when I say this. And let me tell you, everything in that pamphlet, except for the congenital heart defects that she had, because that's genetic. There's nothing I can do about that story, right? That's the story God wrote for her. Everything else, she beat the odds. She mainstreamed. She had an IEP for only 3 years of her life. She no longer had an IEP. She looks typical. She acts typical. She's in typical classrooms. Now, I wouldn't say that she's at the high average of the class, but she's definitely not below average either. She stayed on grade level. And I became very close to that family. I mean, I became close to a lot of my families, but this one in particular. And to this day, if I brought her on, she would tell you it was because of Veenu we were able to rewrite a story, and they never had to take out that pamphlet again.
That's excellent. Well,
that's
and that's
the mindset change though, right? Like,
right.
You have to see it so you can change it.
Right. And so really, I think what I'm taking from what you're saying is that if we allow our story to be defined by other people, instead of deciding what we're going to do and make our lives, that we're sort of the creator of our own circumstance, in the sense that we can accept what other people give to us, or we can create what or at least work towards what we want to see, and learn the skills and techniques to be able to create whatever's possible for our child. So,
and that's the first step, right? First, you got to see it, like, change what you see, and what you see will change. That's the first thing. But the second thing out of that was action. Right. We can want all we want. We could say, okay, I want this for my child. Like, I work with kids with cerebral palsy. I work with kids on the spectrum. I've worked with kids with spinal bifida. I've worked with kids, you name it. I don't think there's a diagnosis out there, that a medical diagnosis, and which I call umbrellas, right? They're just really umbrellas to put them somewhere to get them services. And that's the only reason why I said you want the diagnosis, just get the services. At least that's how it works in America. And so it's great. You've got to get clarity. So the first key, let's go back to step one. Step one, get clarity of what you want. Get clarity of what you want. My tagline, my old business used to be called Aspirations. And the tagline was making your dreams a reality, because I too was pregnant. And I remember when I was pregnant with my first child, I had all these things. I'm like, I wonder what he's going to be. Is he going to be a doctor? Is he going to be a lawyer? Is he going to go to college?
Right.
Is he going to have friends? Is he going to play sports? And so I'm already, pre-assuming what my child's going to do. And I have no clue, but it was fun to just to fantasize, right? My first child. And then your child comes out and there's something wrong. And because that's what we're told, something's wrong. But what if everything was just right? What if that was the path that they had to learn? Because it wasn't just your child's lesson, it was your lesson. And so I came into these homes to say, hey, look, don't be sad. Like, is it going to go the way you wanted? No, but you know what? When does life go the way?
Oops.
I got
Sorry, I was admitting someone and I clicked the wrong button. And things go wrong. But
yeah, I mean, but
yeah,
that's
no,
just it. Like, we say, tell God what you want, and he'll laugh at you. We said that when me and my husband got together, my husband's like, I'm not moving back to Jacksonville, and we're not having more kids. He moved back to Jacksonville and we had twins. So don't tell God what you want, right? Don't tell God what you want. You decide, and then you take action. And that's really the two things. If you want massive change in your life, that's the two things that changed my life, that changed my mindset. And it didn't just change it, it made it possible.
Well, and that's really, when we're in positions, especially as special needs parents, where we have experts telling us all the time, okay, this is what this is, and this is what you need to do. A lot of the time, and one of the things at Parent Dashboard we really try and promote is that self-empowered parent, where, you can take their advice and you can decide whether to accept that or not for your child. And so those are really critical pieces. Thank you so much for sharing those two bits. And if folks need help with that, they can, we'll have that referral form again set up on our website where they can contact you if they're needing help. And maybe at some point we can have you back and do a concrete exercise on how flipping that mindset shift. But
absolutely.
For the next couple minutes here, I'm conscious of the time, and I just want to make sure that we deliver on what we talked about. So
that's crisis.
Yeah. And so, okay, so we've talked a little bit about mindset and some of the key thoughts about how to shift it. Once we're in in the right mindset. What are some of the, like, so we're in crisis, the kids putting their head through the drywall, or just, repeating something we've tried to do, or there's been a meltdown at the grocery store. What in those moments, right in that moment, can you recommend as a couple of tools or tips? Definitely we've all heard, we'll take a breath, but let's talk about some actual concrete tools that parents can use.
Yeah, so great. And I totally get that. Like, yeah, take a breath would be great, but you take a breath and the kid's still screaming, right? Like, okay, and the kid's still having a temper tantrum, or they're still banging their head against the wall, or they're still like, ripping up paper, or like whatever their behaviors are still having it. So you can take as many breaths as you want. It's not changing the behavior. So if you want to change the behavior, you got it. This is like key number one. Ask a better question and get a better answer. So, for those that are listening right now, think about that time that you're in crisis. Was it when you guys got in lockdown and you didn't know how to, do this homeschool thing? Because that was my crisis, my biggest crisis, right? What question were you asking? Because the question I was asking is, how the heck am I going to get through this? How am I going to do this? How am I going to do this? It was all about, how am I going to do this? How am I going to do this? How am I going to do this so my kid doesn't fail? I put everything about how am I? Never once did I ask myself in that moment, what is the outcome here? Because the outcome was never about me. It was never about me. Right? However, when I asked myself, what's the outcome? And I got clear, because so my children have ADHD and dyslexia. And here we're on lockdown now. We're doing this Zoom thing.
Right.
At the time we were locked down in Idaho, and school was starting. And so they were on Zoom. So my kids were getting at 5 o'clock in the morning to make it to North Carolina time. And they said, Veenu, don't worry about it. We respect that you guys can't get, because we were supposed to be home in time, and flights were shut down. We were stuck at my mom's. And so we respect that. Just watch the recording. Recordings don't work for my special needs twins. It just doesn't work for them.
Yeah.
So we had a choice. Either we were going to be ready by 5 o'clock in the morning for the first month, or they were going to watch the recording and it just was not working.
Right.
So we got them up, and they were tired and they were in pajamas. And I'm like, oh, you got to get dressed, because again, how is this going to work for me? Right.
Right.
They got to look on camera. They got to know that
look
I
like
got
a lady.
Right. The teacher has to know Veenu's got it together. Her kids have brushed their teeth, ate breakfast. They're ready to go, like the other kids at, where it's 8 o'clock in the morning, because I was so afraid of, what are they going to think about me if my kids aren't together? And it doesn't work. It doesn't work when you're thinking about you. But the minute, it took about 2 days, and I'm like, because I'm going to tell you, I could be the greatest coach for you, but I'm still a parent. I still have to go through my own stuff. And so it takes me a minute, and I'm grateful that I have these tools, but it still takes me a minute to remember them when I finally get out of my own way. Right. And so I asked myself, I'm like, what's my outcome? My outcome is for these kids to get as much as they can from this Zoom opportunity. And if they need to go back to bed, fine. If they need to be in their pajamas, fine. If they want to eat breakfast after, fine. If they want to eat breakfast while they're doing it, fine. I took away all the stigma that I was attaching it to.
Okay.
And then I said, what's the outcome? The outcome was for them to be present. And then I asked myself, are they present? Yep. Are they present in their pajamas? Yep. Are they present with a bowl of cereal in their pajamas? Yep. My outcome was met. They were present.
Sometimes it's not the how, it's the what. It's where you arrive at, and who cares what it looks like on the outside, as long as you're getting to the places that you need.
So I just want to say also, with this whole COVID thing, we did not know that how long it was going to last. We did not know, everybody's views. If we're not torn apart because of races, we're now torn apart because of vaccines. No matter what, we're always going to be divided as a nation, as a world. It just is what it is. So if we're stressed out about it, our kids feel our emotions. It was so funny. So my older kids, I was telling you, Shelly, that, my birthday's this week. So my older son and my granddaughter and my daughter-in-law surprised me, and they showed up today. And I'm like, well, I got something to do for an hour. I'll be right back. But we were just talking about this right before I got on, about how it is to have a first child and what you feel in that moment. And my son says, Mom, I don't think I could have a second child because how could I love another child the way I love my daughter? And I said, son, I said, do you think I love any of your other 3 siblings any different than I love you? He's like, of course you do. And I'm like, well, there's a different bond. There's a different bond, but the love is not different.
Yeah.
As much as you want to think that. But let me tell you that bond with him. When he was a baby, and even now when he lives 2.5 hours away, when I'm not having a great day, either is he. There's like an emotional connection between me and him.
This is true.
It's crazy. So if I was stressed, and honestly, that's one of the reasons why after 10 years of being with their father, I chose a divorce, because I saw that the pain and the stress that me and his father were under being together was not helping those kids.
Well, and sometimes we create our own weather that way, in the sense
Correct.
that, I once, it got, and I don't know if any of our folks joining us, I'd like to acknowledge some of the other folks that did join. Thank you so much for being here, and shout out to you, and I hope, let us know in the chat where you're dialing in from. But one of the I don't want to say my rock bottom, but one of the most intense moments with my own son, who is, I changed my language to pre-verbal. He's 16 still, and we're working still on words, and he's self-injurious, and there's triggers. It took a really long time for me to learn, what his triggers were and what my triggers were to trigger him, and that whole piece around kind of spiraling down to, some things going wrong, and then feeling like a bad parent, and then being stressed, and then that triggers the child, and then things going wrong, and then you kind of continually deteriorate. And I got to the bottom of that spiral one day when we had triggered each other so badly that he bit me almost to the bone. And there's these moments where you feel guilty, where you say, I hate him, and your feelings take over. And you go to professionals, and I had fortunately had a really good professional that says, really, yes, you need to step back, take a breath, yes, but really focus on what you need, because at that point you're impacting the child. And the first thing when you're in the bottom of a hole is stop digging. So remove yourself, take that step towards making yourself better, which will improve. And when I started flipping that framework of, okay, my modeling is what's going to improve my child, my demonstration of behavior, instead of reacting to behavior, is what's going to reinforce the direction in which my child will progress. So that really helped me a lot. And it sounds just like sort of your breakthrough there is that moment where it's sort of like, oh, well, if it's and that's where the mama bear hardwiring kicks in, and you're like, okay, well, what's best for my child? If it's best for me to get myself together, well, I guess I better get myself together, right?
And you hit the nail on the head when you say we're modeling, because like one of my things is that kids don't do what we say, they do what they see.
Right.
So, it's when we say, well, I'm the parent, so I can say that you can't, make sure you have an explanation for that. But if you just leave that there and you walk away, that child's not buying it. They're not buying it, because in their mind, they're a little adult. Like, these kids don't understand that, wait, you're an adult, I'm a child. Like, but we're both humans. We're both people. Like, I can do that now. Like my daughter-in-law is like, your granddaughter is talking back now. I'm like, she kind of always did. And she's like, oh, no. She's like, because she's almost 4. And so she's like, you need to go to your room. And she's like, I don't want to go to my room. And because her mind is at that point where she hears the adults saying what they want and what they don't want. So she's like, right. Well, I know how to talk now. I have a voice. I also can say, I don't want to go to my room. I don't want to eat that. You can't make me because they don't know their boundaries. Their frontal lobe's not like just starting to develop, like at a snail's pace, right? So they don't understand the reasoning. It's all learned behavior. So what it goes back to, what was the outcome? Like when your son bit you to the bone, like what was his outcome? He needed something that he could not communicate to you. And you honestly were not hearing what he needed. Yep. And he did the best that he could to communicate to you what he needed.
And all of those expectations that I'd had in my childhood were what had been driving me. And that moment was really clear. Okay, yeah, there's something else happening here.
That's why that question, what's the outcome?
Yeah.
If we just stop and say, what's the outcome?
Yeah.
The other thing is watching you go take care of yourself, because they need to see they got to take care of themselves too.
And that really did change a lot, because and the reason why I'm sharing this to bolster your story is because even with high behavior children like this, when you have a child who's it's all a scale, right? And some families have kids that their challenges are serious and impactful, but there's no violence maybe perhaps involved, and so it's a different level of autonomic stress, because when your brain is responding to violence, it's a little bit different than when it's
totally. There's different connections going on.
Yeah. So I just want to reassure the parents who are dealing with serious behaviors that what Veenu's saying about focusing on the outcome and focusing on the modeling is going to work for your child. I can attest with strong behaviors and self-injury behaviors, because they're really not focusing on the words. They're focusing on the realities that they're experiencing, and their brain is reacting
that moment. Yeah. And I'm going to tell you, it's so I have a 6-week parenting course that's getting ready to launch, and week 3 is understanding behaviors, because if you know what your child's behavior is saying, it will make your life so much easier.
Right.
Because what happens is we become reactive to their behaviors.
Absolutely.
And then we're focusing on us again. Then we're not asking the right question. Like, why is this happening to me? Why did this happen to me? Like I remember during the COVID, and we're homeschooling, and here we're spending 9 hours with our kids. And I'm writing the teacher going like, why are we doing 9 hours? Like, I got to work still, like, and the teacher's like, 9 hours, Veenu, you should be doing 2. And I'm like, no, with ADHD and dyslexia, there is no work independently and show me.
Yeah.
They don't get it. They're not really at that level. Like
you do it with them. Yeah.
Right. And then they're getting it wrong. And I'm not going to let them turn in the wrong thing. So now I'm Googling, because I have not been in 2nd grade for a long, long time. 2nd grade is very different than when I recall it. And so I have to Google what I'm teaching. I'm going on YouTube. I have to watch the video. Then I got to go teach it to them, homophones and all this other stuff. I'm like, yep, that's a homophone. Yep. And let's talk about these homophones.
And not only do you become a teacher and you reinterpret the curriculum for special needs.
We do. And then like hear my husband, and then we got to think of the stress it had on us, because my husband's like, honey, I have dyslexia. Like, my husband dropped out of high school because he didn't have the right, and this is what happens with special needs kids. This is a great story, actually. My husband was diagnosed with dyslexia and ADHD. They didn't give him the right reinforcements and what he needed. So he continued to think that he was a failure. And finally at 10th grade, he said, you know what? I'm out. I'm done. I'm not doing it. And then in America, we have the GED, and he went and got the GED because it was easier to sit and study for a test, take it, and get your equivalent high school diploma than it was to sit there and constantly be reminded that you're dumb, you're stupid, you don't get this, because they did not have the right support he needed. And so now what happens, right, when we don't let go of our baggage and we parent through our old baggage, is I'm doing this to my kids now. I can't do this. Here I am again. I'm a failure. So he's watching you. And so we finally, had to say, I'm like, you know what can you do? Right. Again, a better question. So
what's
it's like,
the outcome you want?
What, for your kid or for your spouse or whatever, what can you do? What is possible for you? He says, I can do science and I could do math. I'm like, great. I will do English.
Hi, buddy.
And we just had to split it, right? We just had to split it, because if not, we two are going to split. Like, seriously, look at him. He just wanted to say hi.
Yep. He just came in to say hi.
Yeah. So it's really understanding, again, what is it that they want? What's your outcome? And how can I support? So that's the second question. What's the outcome and how can I support? So you're not making it about you. I remember when I found out that my children were diagnosed, and I was like, and you know what people said to me? They're like, who better equipped than you? And I'm like, really? Just because, I spent my life working at this point with kids on the spectrum and children with special needs, because that's where my heart took me. It's not because I was asking God to say, now give me some, right? Like at 2 weeks old, I went and got my son a weighted blanket, and people were like, how did you know? And I was like, because I just know, like, I just knew that, like, when I put deep pressure on him, he would stay asleep. And when I took my hand off, he would wake right back up and he would be fussy. And so as soon as I got a weighted blanket, he slept through the night. And people are like, God, I wish I had that brain. And I'm like, so am I cursed or am I lucky?
Right. And with all the skills we developed, through our careers as special needs parents, I'm working right now on some concept about what the life cycle of a special needs parent is, because you do develop those tools and techniques. And so part of what we hope to do at Parent Dashboard is definitely share some of those learnings and connections back, for sure.
So the third thing is, I would say, so that's like, so know that what's the outcome? How do I support? And then the second thing is, we have to stop feeling bad. We have to stop that guilt that we've done something wrong. I could have something different. And so instead of asking yourself, why me, or why did this happen? Or, was I lucky? Was I cursed? Ask yourself, what's the gift?
Right. And focusing on the gratitude, because literally your brain can't hold gratitude and fear or anger at the same time. So replacing those thoughts intentionally with positivity of grateful about the upsides, and that can feel difficult sometimes, but as you practice it, it's just like working any other muscle, for sure. And sometimes too, we've had situations with, and my guy's just going to join us in the back here, where you feel a bit like it's taboo for people to sort of in those moments, like I was describing, where you need to take your break and model. So it sometimes people can feel guilty for expecting their child to model them as well. Like it's taboo to it's like saying, okay, disabled child, you're gonna perform A, B, and C, and so we give them passes on things. Sometimes, like it's the same, I guess it's sort of the same issue about the guilt about the grocery store. Okay, well, we'll just give them the pacification.
That doesn't work. We're not living them up to their expectations. We're actually depleting it.
Well, and I specifically just wanted to mention that, though, because it can feel taboo, especially with a child with an extra challenge who is, our little heroes who go through the day with these extra burdens and extra challenges just to get through their day. And then to turn around and say, okay, well, no, actually, I need this from you. You can feel guilty. So when you mentioned guilt, that's one of the other guilt areas, I think, that feeds into the whole difficulty of reinforcing the difficult behaviors. And whereas if we're modeling and holding certain expectations. So I don't know if that triggers.
No, I can, but I just also want to add another guilt that I did see is that, like, if they're supposed to be doing something at age 5, but they don't have the brain capacity, like they haven't learned that level yet.
Right.
Parents aren't like, okay, well, let's see if they can do it. They just keep reiterating what they know. Well, give them the challenge at a 5-year-old level, right? Because you're never they may just surprise you. Like, right. I can't tell you, going into a home on day 1 and going in that same home a year later, working 1 hour a week with this family, 1 hour a week, the independence that family felt. They're like, I can't believe I can actually go to the bathroom and have that moment and not fear my child's going to do this, because they hung on to like, oh, but they need me. I can't be out of their sight. So they take them to the bathroom with them. They do something
right.
else. And I'm like, let's just see if you didn't. Right. And they're like, what? I'm like, you're never going to build that certainty that you can let them grow without you
when you're there.
Right. And the perfect movie, I just finished watching it, Atypical, on Netflix. Atypical.
I haven't yet.
It's 4 seasons. I binge watched it, and the boy has autism, and to watch him grow up, and the father could never connect with the son because he was autistic. The father actually left the family at one point because he didn't know how to deal with the autism, but the mom never gave up. But the mom was like on it, worked with him all the time, got him the best services, and always with him. And now the dad starts to realize and connects with the son, and his son wants to go to college. And the mom's like, you can go to college. That wasn't the plan. Right. That was not the plan. You got to meet with the special needs director. He's like, I don't want to meet with the special needs director. I don't want to be special needs anymore. And I'm going to college. Mom could not let go of the fact that you can't, that's not our plan, because everything was planned out and everything was going as planned, like the doctors and the professionals. And this is circles right back to what I said in the beginning. That's their story.
Right.
What story? And this boy went on, and I was like bawling my eyes. I'm like, I cannot believe I'm crying at this series, but it was a series, and he's going to Antarctica with his dad, because he was so stuck on Antarctica. The whole show was about penguins in Antarctica. It just made me realize, like, even whether you have a child that has special needs or not, how attached we are to our own outcome, that we're not looking at what's their outcome.
Absolutely. And thank you for sharing that. It is a very complicated, it is an extra complicated mindset, which is why we wanted to pay special attention today to it. So we've covered mindset. We've covered some specific tools that we can do in the moment, like, remembering, okay, what's my outcome here, and those sorts of steps that we mentioned. One of the other things that we wanted to cover today was feeling empowered as a parent. So sometimes we have family who don't get it and say, well, this is how you should be raising your child. And you're like, okay, you come here and try it.
Right.
And then sometimes we get the looks at the grocery store is like, what is your problem? Like, why are you letting your kid melt down? And then sometimes we get the PTA lady going off on us, or just the general stigma in society, or that our child gets made fun of. I remember being pulling up beside a bus and looking over, and two young boys, imitating my child, in a not nice way. Right. So there's this an ambient sort of kind of challenges that, and then you get doctors and the other sort of institutional layers saying, okay, well, you should be doing this, or you should be doing that, or we're going to do this to your child or for your child, and this is what's best. And when you as a parent say, well, actually, that's probably not going to work, and they say, well, and there's sort of this question mark between, and there's a lot of lip service. Well, your child best. But then when the rubber hits the road, they don't actually say, well, I do know my child best, and I know that this isn't going to work, but they do it anyway, or they're just, the system isn't set up to support them. What are the things that parents can tell themselves, remember, use, fall back on to remember their power, remember that they do know their children best, they are the experts on their child, and how to work with whatever's coming at them from any of those sources? I know that's
I think that's a great question. And so the first thing I'm going to say is let go of the expectation. We only get disappointed when there's an expectation. So the doctor's saying, well, they should do this by now. That's an expectation. Well, guess what? They're not. What could you appreciate? One of my favorite quotes of Tony Robbins, and it took me a long time to really understand what he was saying, but trade expectations for appreciation. Mm-hmm. So instead of feeling disappointed, like the kids making fun of your son, and yeah, it hurts. It hurts because what does it hurt about? It hurts because you hurt for your child. It hurts that these kids are so unaware of what's really going on. And so it's a teachable moment. So instead
vulnerable to it, yeah.
Right. And so instead of feeling, disempowered or like feeling sorry, ask yourself, what's the gift in this moment? The gift in that moment, would you have ParentDashboard wanting to make people aware if you didn't have to go through all the scrutiny you did with your son? That's the gift. Would you be the advocate if you didn't see those kids making fun of your son? There's something about watching that and stacking all the others that finally said, you know what, Shelley, it's time to bring this awareness to another level. It is time. Nobody needs to feel like me. Nobody has to make me feel sad or guilty. This is all a gift. Thank you. And I said the same thing. When my mom read my first book and she saw that I was suicidal, and so she was crying, she put her hand on my leg. She goes, Veenu, I never knew. And I said, thank God you didn't, Mom, because this was my trajectory that I had to go through, because now I'm saving lives. Right. And it's the same thing. Thank God those kids made fun of your kids. Thank God that you got those stares in the grocery store. Thank God people were talking behind your back going, do you know about Shelley's son? Thank God they did, because everybody that's either on this platform right now or listening or a part of your life, Shelley, thank God of all those things, thank God for all the expectations, because look at what you developed.
Well, and we do that thank you. That's lovely. But I think we all do that and we can use that mindset that, again, it kind of come back around into mindset in our individual lives, because I've found, okay, I've hired workers and they all look great on paper, and then they start, and a week later they're like, man, I can't do this. And then your child's hooked in, like there's all these complications. But then I've like, oh, okay, well, in order to avoid that in the future, I'm going to make X, Y, and Z improvements. And so now my hiring calls are a lot different, and our parent dashboard services for pods are a lot different and more detail focused, and we pre-vet things, and we've got a lot of improvements because of it. So I totally agree with you in that, to feel empowered, you take the lemons and you make what lemonade you can. And it can be really hard in that moment to see. And sometimes it's taken me several days or even weeks to be able to kind of go, what was that lesson again? Because I'm still really not getting it.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Don't worry, the lesson will come back again until we get it. In a different way. But, so like to feel empowered, like when my daughter comes back to me and she's crying, I'm like, what's going on? And she's like, well, the girl over there said the girl across the street was using me and she really didn't want to be my friend. And I say, you know what, that does hurt. I said, but what's the gift? And she's like, the gift? I said, if you didn't know that, you would continue to go play with her, knowing that she really didn't want to play with you. She was using you. Guess what? You're better than being used, and you have a choice. And she goes, I do. I said, you do have a choice. And so you choose. Is it time to be used? Or is it time to say, you know what? I'm better than that. And no, thanks. I don't want to play today.
Yeah.
You don't have to be rude about it. But I am teaching my own child to be empowered, because that's the one thing I didn't do with my boys. Because I was parenting through my old baggage. I was parenting through no self-worth, no self-esteem, parent guilt, what my mom's going to think, what society's going to think. Am I the right soccer mom? Do I look good on the soccer field next to my boys? Like, I was so worried about everybody else's chatter and their words that I forgot to realize that I had a choice. Right. And now that I do, that's the one thing that my one son, they're twins, he's in 4th grade. The other one's in 3rd. Everybody's like, how is she going to feel about it? And like, how is she supposed to feel about it? Well, is she sad? Is she jealous? I'm like, my daughter jealous of her brother? Absolutely not. She knows. She's like, Sam knows that better than me. And so Sam needs to be in 4th grade. And my mom says she's setting me up to win. So I needed an extra grade in 3rd. Great. And the teachers are they're like, I can't believe she's like, so like, not like, why am I not like my brother? I said, because I've never raised them as you have to be the same. Just because they're twins, they have an individuality, and we see them for their gifts, right, and we see them for their talents, and we see the areas that they both need improvement on. And that's it. Don't see your kids as weaknesses. I know that we say it's a disability, but they have an ability that we will never have.
Yeah, I mean, we have to recognize, sort of like actual medical limitations and yes, treatments and that sort of thing. But aside from that, even the process of going through servicing those medical needs can be educational and empowering and growing, because then you know something, and even you can share with others to empower other people from it.
I think that parents are afraid, though, because we have that mama gut, right? So, and I have lots of stories, and I'm so sorry to overpower this, but just one more story because we're on this. So the client that I was talking about that's come back, her son, who didn't have autism, but had apraxia dyspraxia, he was having symptoms, but they were so asymptomatic of a tethered in his spine. And she went to the doctor. She goes, I think my son has a tethered spine. And they're like, no, he really doesn't. She goes, I've done research. I'm telling you, he has a tethered spine. They're like, we really don't want to. And it's a very risky surgery to do, open spine surgery, and to go in there if they're not tethered. And she goes, I'm telling you, I'm not going to back down. I'm going to get my insurance to pay for this. We're going to figure it out, but we need to do the insurance. They went in, he had a tethered spine. I love that woman.
He said for mom knows.
The same thing happened with my son. His bones right here were all crooked, but his feet were like that. Every doctor, oh, it's the way he sat in your womb. It's the way. And I'm like, no, there's something wrong with his feet. There's something wrong with his feet. I know I'm only 20 years old, but there's something wrong with his feet. And they wouldn't give me a referral. The military's like, nope, he's good. He's good. It's the way he sat in your room. And I said, I need a podiatrist. So either you're going to pay for it or I'm going to figure out, and I'm taking my son over to doctors. And sure enough, his feet had to be casted because his bones were going inward.
It wasn't just, yeah.
It was my mama gut at 20 years old.
Yeah.
So it goes back to what you say, you know, your child, you know, I'm not saying take away the diagnoses, especially when we need them for medical care to get the insurance to pay for things. I mean, but that's the only reason why I like diagnoses, because it gives us kind of like a validation that, hey, can you pay for this now? But the flip side of that is write your own story.
Yes.
Write your own story.
Yeah. Well, thank you so much. So I would just love to open it up now. We had a couple of extra people join. So thanks everybody for chiming in on the chat. And maybe if you want to put any questions that you have for Veenu there, we can work through them. We will have a few minutes. And just so you know, I'll go back and show you again where on the website you can go to review this recording. If you wanted to go back and say, what did they say about? Or if you, and we'll have a little referral form if you ever want to get in touch with Veenu, you can go there as well. So if anybody has any questions, you're more than welcome to either, there's a little raise your hand or put it in the chat, or just unmute yourself and feel free to ask. We've got about 10 or so 10-15 minutes here. I hope. I think we're
I'm good.
Okay about you, Veenu. We'll be going a little over, but
I'm good. I'm good.
Awesome.
I love this.
So does anyone have any questions for Veenu?
If there's no questions, I just wanted to also touch on, you said curious, not critical. And that's like another tagline of mine, because when we're critical, we have this assumption that we know, and this is what our kids need to do. But if we're curious, we're going to ask questions. What's the outcome? What do they need right now? How are they seeing it through their model of the world? You know, so it's just being more curious than critical. And, you know, as your kids get older and as they start to learn more and understand more, stay away from the question why, because why creates a defensiveness in them. Like, you know, why did you put your socks away in that drawer like that? They're like, I don't know why, like, and all you want to do is compliment them to say like, that was a great idea. But in their mind, they got to defend like, well, why did I put my socks in there?
Just provide a rationale, please.
Right?
What you're
And it just creates this combativeness. And then we wonder why our kids have an attitude. Well, if your child has an attitude, there's a couple of things going on. Either you're not hearing them, they feel dismissed, or they feel your tonality created a defense mechanism then that they had to defend.
Okay. And this is true, whether complex kids or neurotypical kids.
All kids, like all kids, this spouses. Me and my husband were having a discussion right there. He's like, your tonality, you're being defensive. I'm like, you just asked me why.
Right.
Don't ask me why and I won't be defensive.
I'm reflecting on some spousal conversations I had recently. Thank you.
Don't ask me why and I won't be defensive. And the other thing is like, and they can go to and I know you put my stuff up, but this book I wrote, it says, teach your children that they're enough, 3 proven steps to help raise your child's self-esteem. So whether it doesn't matter about your child, if you have a child, download this book. It's a free ebook on my website, veenuspiders.com, but it's just 3 chapters. It's like 30 something pages. It's very, very short read. There's actually pictures in here too. So it's really not a long read, but I just go over the 3 ways that we can empower our children. How do we empower them for their worth? Because I'm going to tell you, all the adults I coach right now, all the adults I see in the Tony Robbins and the Joseph McClendon stuff, like John Maxwell, like you name it, anybody in personal development, there was once upon a time that they didn't have a lot of self-worth or self-esteem.
Right.
So if we're going to change that, we may not be able to change what the governments are saying about COVID, but we can change the way that our kids are being raised, and we can give them their worth. Absolutely. You know, we really can. We really can. So,
well, Veenu, I don't see any questions. I don't see any questions here. If anyone wants to unmute, that's fine. But I think what we'll do is we'll close it off. You know, we'll stick around afterwards for a little while in case you want to ask privately for a few minutes. But I just want to thank you, Veenu, so much for spending your valuable time with us. It's been fantastic. I think we've touched on so many things that are going to be so useful for people. And I'm just going to show folks one more time where to get, I'll get the, share this and go to our parent dashboard site. Oops, hang on a second. That's not the right one. I'm gonna go and put us
I
there.
love technology when technology works.
Yeah, exactly. Hang on a second here. And I'll just take you to the parent dashboard site and let you work you through where to go. So here we go. I'm just gonna share this. Come on, link. There we go. All right. So this ParentDashboard.ca. You can check things out. We've got we organize our service by every other area of life, because special needs and family life, aren't just limited to the kids. Financial pressures, relationship issues, men and women reacting differently to diagnoses, all sorts of things, physical, mental health, work and career service, hands-on services, at least in the lower end of Vancouver Island, British Columbia, and self-care and connection. We'll have all this here, and we also organize it by role. So if your mom and dad or sister and brother who have different sort of sets of impacts, it's all there. But we have an upcoming events link down at the bottom here. You just click that, and if your internet is working, you hopefully will click through. Oh, this is I just wanted to mention too, our upcoming event in September. One of the things is how to pay for all this. So we're doing a family financial fitness fire up, 2 hours a day, 5 days, free, incredible speakers telling you all about all different ways to earn money, save money, make money, all your mindset around money. But anyway, on our upcoming events under this section here, we'll have it down in our recent past events, but we'll have the recording of Veenu's talk today. Veenu, if it's okay, I'll share with all the members your kind offer of your book and a link to Veenu, and you can also visit Veenu's site directly to get any of that or to get a hold of her. So hopefully that helps out, and it's been such a great thing to have you all here today. Thank you so much, and thank you, Veenu. You're incredible, and we really appreciate you. So hope everybody has a great Saturday, and we'll look forward to seeing you maybe on future events, or next time maybe in September for the Financial Fitness Challenge. Take good care, everybody. Bye.